Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob. This video we're going to continue with the Q&A. We're going to be doing part 2. Okay guys, welcome back. So we're going to continue with the part 2 of the Q&A. I have my list of questions here that I left off from last time. And let's go right into it. So this one, I know I left off with Shockwave Kamina's question about how the monster going to fight. So the next question after that was from Alexis Santana. What do you think about the past Jurassic Park movies? Or even one about the upcoming one, so-called Jurassic Park 4, or for that matter, thoughts on Independence Day, past and upcoming ideas about possibilities for those movies. So, in terms of Independence Day, I love the first one. I thought it was a fantastic, fun adventure movie. In terms of a sequel, God, it's been so long. I don't really know how much of that crowd or that kind of I don't know how much they're gonna retain from that original crowd. That movie was almost ahead of its time. Like the special effects, if you watch it in high definition, because I have it in HD, I have it on Blu-ray, the special effects have really carried over well. There's some movies where the special effects just do not age well, and there's some movies that they age fantastically. Independence Day is one of them. I think The Matrix is a good movie that, because The Matrix is what, 16 years, like. When did it come out? Like 2000, 2001? I don't remember, but it's over 10 years old. I think it was 99 it might have come out. But, some movies age well with special effects. Matrix, Independence Day, the first 3 Star Wars reboot movies, even the older Star Wars movies, when they've redefined them, it looked great. But I think Independence Day, you're going to see, I think the only direction they can go with that is that after all the big flying saucers crashed, that there are many survivors, alien survivors that come out and they start a ground war. I really think that's the only direction you can go. The only other direction I see them doing is that another alien mothership comes and they invade the planet. But that would be like, I don't know if that would work as well as just picking up where you left off and a bunch of aliens running out of the ships and just ambushing people thinking that all the aliens are killed. That's my thought anyway. In terms of Jurassic Park, I love the trilogy overall. Obviously, the first 2 for me were the best ones. The third one I wasn't too crazy about, even though Sam Neill came back for that one, and I loved him in the movies, in the first one and the third one. But the fourth one, I don't know. I really haven't read up too much about it because, like I said, I can only focus on one movie at a time in terms of really digging into the details and getting to the grit of things. And because I'm such a huge Godzilla fan, that's pretty much what I've been surrounded with. I think once Godzilla's over, you'll start seeing me kind of branch off into different movies and focusing more on certain movies. But in terms of Jurassic Park 4, I don't really know where they're going to go with that. There's only so many islands, I guess, you can do. There's only so many different locations. I guess that's another route. But I think I heard it's going to be called something like Jurassic World. So maybe it starts to become a takeover, which is definitely possible. If there were an island of dinosaurs today, natural evolution would eventually have them start to make their way around the world. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens with that. So, okay, so this question comes from Today's Vocal Covers. And he wants to know if... he wants to know about the violence in the movie. He said, I heard some rumors that it will be PG-13. I was wondering how that's going to work with all the fighting and obvious violence that's going to happen. If you, he mentioned something. If you can't answer this question, I understand that you're... No, it's cool. I think monster violence is kind of viewed differently than human violence. I think when you look at humans getting shot or killed or getting their limbs cut off and stuff like that, I think that's the kind of violence they try to control in terms of viewers. I think monster violence, I mean, from my experience looking at movies, I don't think that is... That's why they kind of put stuff like not graphical violence, something like animated violence, they'll usually put that in the viewer discretion, and that goes towards like if it's a serious animated movie, or if it's a CGI like monsters, like for this example. Do I see blood coming from these monsters? Yeah, and same thing held for King Kong, and King Kong was what, PG 13, and like I said in the last question, he was crushing jaws and breaking them open and ripping out tongues. So I think monster violence is not kind of looked at the same way as man on man violence. You know what I mean, in terms of the blood. So if it's just going to be violent with the monsters, then yeah, I think it'll be PG 13. But there's a lot of other things that kind of can make a movie rated R. Nudity, the amount of times you curse, violence, of course. So, and I think that's why it's not rated yet. I think right now they're still in the cutting room, and they're trying to find ways to make it PG 13. I think for the most part that's what they want. I personally think the movie would do well at a rated R level, because rated R, I've seen so many rated R movies that they just go in so many different directions with rated R. I mean, it's really almost kind of like a little out of control. I've seen rated R movies where the cursing was maybe barely enough to make it rated R. There was no violence, and there was little to no kind of toilet humor. So they kind of really, really take the rating system seriously, because the last 10 years they've just tried to make the cinema more of a family-friendly place, and I can understand that. But at the same time, I mean, there have been, like, I did a video about rated R, about the movie being rated R. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I feel I make a very strong case for the movie being rated R. But yeah, there's a lot of people who A, don't think that's going to happen, and probably won't. And B, there are some people who think it won't work. I strongly disagree. But I think the violence might be just monster-related violence, nothing more. And whatever violence you see with humans is going to be from a different perspective where you don't see a lot of blood. So, okay. CK, I want to... Please forgive me if I pronounce this last name wrong. CK Tsoukalis. I hope I said that right. CK Tsoukalis. If there is a sequel to Godzilla 2014 and Toho does allow Legendary to use another Toho monster, which monster would you like to see the most, and how would you like to see him or her upgraded? Many people know this already. By looking at your name, you're probably a fairly new subscriber or fairly new viewer. But I have answered this many times, but just for the sake of being consistent, the one monster I would like to see is Ghidorah. And it doesn't have to mean Ghidorah's in the second part. He could be in the third. It doesn't matter. If they were to get permission from Toho and they use the monsters, I would definitely like to see like Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra. But Ghidorah's probably my favorite villain for Godzilla. And I've always said that I definitely would like to see him enhanced a little bit. But if I could change him, I would give him 2 arms. There's just something about the monster that, while he's powerful and he's got gravity beams and all this, the fact that he can never really hold anything, and the fact that he's got feet that really don't close up, I always thought giving him some arms would bring him to the level that I really think he can reach, which is a devastating enemy for Godzilla. I know people think that he really is a devastating enemy, but, I mean, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, he really did not give him a hard time. He really didn't. I mean, Godzilla whooped his ass. But I think if you gave him arms where he could actually grab, pick something up, bite it with, let's say, like, for example, if he had 2 arms to go with that big, enormous body and those 3 heads, could you imagine him grabbing another monster, or grabbing Godzilla, and, like, one head bites him while the other 2 heads start shooting him and they're holding him? I mean, that kind of dimension would just add, in my opinion, so much potential to a fight that that's what I would like to see. But yeah, that's just me. That's just my opinion on the whole thing. So, next question comes from Vincent Dillon. Rob, what is your favorite villain monster, and do you think Destroyer is overrated? Favorite villain monster, obviously, King Ghidorah. Second to him would be Mecha Godzilla, the original from the 70s. But do I think Destroyer is overrated? Yes. Yeah, I really... Godzilla was nearing death, and he more or less whooped the shit out of him. I mean, the only thing Destroyer really did was... I mean... I know this has been a big debate on like Goji fans page, and me and him spoke about it. And he's told me recently seeing the movie, because I'm at the end of the High Side series, and I kind of started watching the movies today, in fact, because I blew out my back, so I haven't been able to go out. I've been, unfortunately, I've been kind of homebound. I'm feeling better now, but I still can't move around. Just got to let the back rest up. But overall, yeah, I think he's overrated. The concept of his birth, I think it's a cool monster. It looks great. He does have some power, but I don't think he's as powerful as people think. I really don't. I've seen Goji fans' old comments from back in the day. I know there's people that play a big, they make a big deal out of what he did to Godzilla Jr. He lived. As much as it looked like he whooped his ass, Destroyer died. Godzilla Jr. lived and turned into the new Godzilla, So, I mean, he's a great monster. I think he's got some power, but I just don't think he's like Godzilla's face worse. Personally, I think Godzilla had a harder time with Space Godzilla, in my opinion. But, that's everybody's opinion. It's all opinion. I hope I don't start a flame war in the comments, because I've had enough flame wars the last 2 days. I'm going to get into that in another video. But that's just my opinion. I do think he's overrated. I do think people make a big deal out of him. But if people think that he's the most powerful Godzilla villain, that's fine. That's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. All right. So next question comes from McCarthy, and he wants to know, he says he wants my opinion on this. It's been talked about to a degree, but not much. How do you want to see Godzilla 2004's agility? Would you like to see his movements being traditional, maybe a quicker and responsive Godzilla? Which do you think shows a more menacing threat? I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping his movement methodical when he's trudging through cities and destroying. I'm just talking about really in a fight. I would like to see him bring it a little more. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to see him a little bit faster, not a lot, fast enough that he can fight without being, without somebody outspeeding him. But I think when he's trudging through a city, I mean, you're not going to see him running, and you know what I mean? I mean, you saw in the trailer, he's moving pretty methodical while he's going through the city. In a fight, that's a whole different ball of wax, because he's slow. He's slow in a fight, and I can't see him just going like this, throwing haymakers. It just, I don't even think he's going to be throwing haymakers. I think he's going to be biting and clawing. So when you see that, I think you got to kind of move faster. But we'll see. We'll see. He looks kind of hunched over. So if he hunches over like this and he's kind of moving like that, that gives me the idea that he's got a little bit more mobility than he used to, which tells me that we might just see a little bit more agility in his step when he needs it. So we'll see what happens, though. Okay, so moving right along. This question comes from Wylando87. I hope I pronounced that right. If they make a trilogy, how do you think they would end the series? Do you think they would kill off Godzilla? Again, I have a hard time enough talking about a sequel, let alone a trilogy. I do think they'll make it into a trilogy. That seems to be the standard now for Hollywood. I don't think they'd kill him at the end. I think too many people would, because you know what? The only thing I feel can kill Godzilla is another monster of equal or greater power. So if there are no other monsters, or unless they make a match for him, I don't think killing him would be a good idea. And B, if they do kill him, they better leave it open for his existence down the road. And C, if they do that, they better not have the military kill him, because that will fucking turn people. That will go up people's ass sideways. So I think the best thing to do is let him walk off into the sunset and leave it at that. But again, we're way ahead of ourselves. So let's see what happens after this movie. Okay, so the next question comes from Angtram. Rob, do you think this movie may win any Oscars? No way. No way. And it's not because there may not be a great acting performance. It's not because the music may not be good. It's not because the special effects won't be top notch. I cannot see the Academy Awards giving any kind of Oscar to a movie titled Godzilla. The Academy Awards, it's a great show. They're great awards, but let's be honest here. It's very, very niche, like in terms of you got to be in with the good people. The Academy are very, very elitist people. They're very snobbish. They will not, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, they will not in any way, shape, or form hand an Oscar over to anyone linked to this movie, no matter how good it does, no matter how much the critics love it or hate it, doesn't matter. But if it was the best movie with best critics and made the most money and all this great stuff, it's not going to. I just, knowing what I know of the Oscars from watching this documentary on HBO some time ago, and I can't remember the name of it, I can't see it. I can't see it. I just do not see them giving an Oscar to a Godzilla movie in any way, shape, or form. So, and that's not to say that there won't be some Oscar-worthy parts in terms of music and in terms of whatever. I just don't think the Academy would have it. I just don't think they would. So, all right. This one comes from Jose G. Alvarez. Excuse me. Never mind. Oh, no. He asked me, do you think there should be a kaiju cinematic universe? I think that would be nice. Honestly, it would. I mean, being a kaiju fan, I would love to see that. Will there be one? I don't know. I think Pacific Rim showed some potential. I know it didn't do that great here domestically, but it made a profit. It made a very good profit. It was entertaining. There are some parts of it and some things I criticized about it in my review on ODT that I can't seem to find, so I'm going to have to do another one on it. And I think if we were to ever get a kaiju cinematic universe that you'll actually see movies popping up of different kaijus or Godzilla, I think this movie is going to be the one to determine whether there's this Godzilla movie is going to be the movie that determines whether or not there's a market for that. I think there is. It's just a matter of how big the market is. Because really, when you think about the Godzilla community online, it kind of all rotates to the same places. Toho Kingdom, GodzillaMovies.com, Goji Fans channel, Richard Isso's channel. I get my channel now, I suppose. And other websites that are dedicated to that stuff. The G-Fest website, G-Fest in and of itself. I mean, so I don't know how many people are within that community, and then there's probably maybe some communities outside of that. I mean, if it expands, I think this movie will give an indication of whether or not that's a possibility in the future, and we'll just have to wait and see. So, all right, you know what? I know this video is running really, really long, but I've only got a few questions left. I mean, wow. I don't think this is going to be my first 20-minute video ever. All right. All right, so this one comes from Rob Taylor, and he wants to know what other kaiju movie would you like to see get a reboot, or what kaiju should get their own movie? I got to say, I think at this point, Gamera. I know that sounds crazy. If you have not seen that trilogy, I think Gamera, if they take that trilogy and they were to give it the TLC of United States CGI and some actors and the same kind of mood setting as the new Godzilla movie, oh man, that shit will do. I think it'll do surprisingly well. I really do. That trilogy was so good. I was not convinced before that Gamera could ever even stand a chance having his own movie rebooted here in the States. That trilogy changed my mind. So yeah, I would love to see Gamera on a more serious level like the Heisei trilogy. Yep. All right. So this one comes from The Germans 9, and he wants to know if there were to be any Toho monsters. Not saying there definitely will. Which do you think would be in the movie? Obviously, I said Ghidorah. I think you bring over the popular ones: Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra. I don't know about Anguirus. I mean, he's popular, but I don't know. He's never really done anything to me, in my opinion. But Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra seem to be the primary three that if you're going to bring them over, those are the three you start with. I don't know if you bring over other one, the Gigan possibly. Gigan's just because of his design alone, I think you could bring him over. But I would say beyond those four, then you're kind of gambling a little bit. I think Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, and Gigan are probably 4 months monsters you could bring over, and I think that'd be it. I think those four would probably be, you stop there. My opinion, though. That's just me. My opinion. Mecha Godzilla, I know it's surprising I'm not saying that, because if you're going to make a serious movie with Godzilla and you're going to bring in a robot, I don't think they're going to do the storyline with Mecha Godzilla. Somebody said this on one of the comments, and I agree with them on this, that if they're going to build a robot mech to stop Godzilla, you're not going to build a carbon copy of Godzilla. If you're trying to ground the story, which is what they're trying to do, you're not going to build a carbon copy of Godzilla as a robot to fight him, because anatomically, you could build a robot that's probably built better to move than Godzilla's natural anatomy. So it doesn't make sense to carbon copy something that's probably a little bit sluggish and methodic when you can build something more agile, more fluid, maybe give it booster rockets and stuff like that. I mean, and not only that, why after Pacific Rim would they design a robot in their movie? Why would anybody write that in when people already know that the Pacific Rim robots are probably just a better format to fight Godzilla than just build, you know what I mean? I think at that point, I just don't think they do it. As much as I love Mecha Godzilla, I just don't see that. Unless maybe they go the alien route. So we'll see. Okay, so that was that one. Alex put, can you review Gamera the Brave? Yeah, I just got to order it. I have actually a lot of movies that I'm going to order that are kaiju movies. Just haven't pulled the trigger yet because I'm kind of saving them for after the March of the King, then, because I want to continue the Kaiju Wednesdays after this whole March of the King Godzilla's over. So I don't want to do more than one movie on a Wednesday. So that's why. So most of any Kaiju reviews you're going to see me do that are not Godzilla related in the future are going to be after the whole March of the King and after the movie release. And then this final question comes from Nathan Giannoni or Giannoni. So I apologize if I pronounced the name wrong. I would love a full Godzilla channel from you, Rob. Speaking of which, can you talk about how Gareth should proportionize Godzilla's atomic breath in the 2014 movie? I'll just revisit that real quick one more time. I think you're going to get a beam that's not going to look like the original. I think it'll have more definition. I think it'll have a different look, but I think it might keep a similar color, or it might even go the whole red or different color route. I heard a rumor that his dorsal fins weren't lighting up, but that's just a rumor. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't have a source. The person who said it just it was a while ago, and I don't remember whether they stated the source or not. In terms of how much he's going to use it, I don't think you're going to see it a lot. If you see it up to or less than 5 times in the whole movie, don't be surprised. I picture myself, when I think about it, I picture him using it 3. Once against the military, once against one of the one Muto, and then once against the second Muto, and that's it. I don't even think he's going to use it to level a city, because considering the size he's going to be, and I'm not talking about the poster, I'm talking about the real size in the trailer, it's not going to take him long to torch to a city and destroy it. So I think you'll see a different looking atomic breath, and I think you'll see a very limited use. And that's it. 24 minutes. I said I wanted to make these videos short, but I know some of my answers were long-winded, but that covers pretty much all the questions. There are still some viewer request videos I have not done yet. I have not forgotten you guys. I just kind of wanted to get some of these video requests that were more or less to me questions out of the way, and then I'm going to get back to doing a viewer request this week. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered all your questions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.